Okie dokie. Part 6, I believe. Finishing out our statistical uh, thing going on here. Just to nail this once and for all, nail this home. How much the liberals are biased in the media. In 2000, members of the media let their political views influence. The question was, members of the media let their political views influence the way they report the news. 57% said often, and 32% said sometimes. That means 89% believe that the media let their political views influence the way they report the news, often or sometimes. 89%. 8% said seldom, 1% said never, so that's only 9% believe it's seldom or never happens. Reporters want Al Gore to win the presidency. 47% said, yeah, they do. Reporters want Bush to win. Only 23% said, yeah, they do. 2001 to 2013, a Gallup poll, I'm naming it this time. In 2003, media too liberal, 46% yes. The media is too conservative, 13% yes. 46% to 13. Since 2001, the percentage saying media is too liberal ranged from 44 to 48%. The percentage saying it is too conservative never exceeded 19% in the entire length of and continuing of this poll from 2001 to 2013. Every year this poll was taken, the media is too liberal ranged from 44 to 48%. Yes, it's too liberal. And a percentage of people who believed it was too conservative never exceeded 19%. Republicans and conservatives, media too liberal, 74% and 73% respectively. Independents say 50%. Democrats feel that the political views are just about right. What world are they living in? Great deal or fair amount of trust and confidence in media. Republicans, 33%, have a great deal or fair amount of trust in the media. Democrats, 60%. Independents, not much better than Republicans, 37%. In 2003, 1,201 American adults were interviewed. Question: Are news organizations or statement: news organizations are politically biased? 53% said yes. Are careful to remove bias from reports? 29 said yes. Only 29%. News organizations are liberal. 51%. News organizations are conservative. 33%. See, the pattern never changes. Doesn't matter who's giving the survey, who they're asking. Republicans of that 1,201, the Republicans of that group, when asked news organizations are too liberal, 65% said yes, and when asked they're too conservative, only 22%. Press criticism of military serves to keep military prepared. 45% said yes. Criticism weakens country's defenses. 43% yes. Among Republicans, 63% said yes. Reporters don't care about the people they report on. 56% said yes, they don't care. Reporters try to cover up their mistakes. 62% said yes, they do. Reporters are often influenced by powerful people and organizations. 70% of the public in this poll said yes, they are influenced. In 2004, polls at the end of or after a presidential campaign. Gallup had 1,530 voters interviewed and asked said media not biased toward either candidate. 45% said yes, it's not biased. Biased towards Kerry, 35%. Biased towards Bush, 16%. So even when they say only 45 agreed that they were biased, when you break it down, it's 2-1 towards the liberal. Pew had, in that same year, interviewed 1,307 voters. Newspaper and TV reporters want Kerry to win. 50% said yes. Want Bush to win? 22%. News organizations have too much influence in determining elections. 62% said yes. News influence is appropriate. 32% said yes. It's not appropriate, and only 32% say it is. Their influence. Fabrizio McLaughlin and Associates on election day interviewed 1,000 voters in 12 battleground states in 2004. Media campaign coverage biased, 46% yes. Media campaign coverage not biased, 42% yes. Pew had a post-election survey of 1,209 voters. Bush coverage was fair, 56%. Bush coverage was unfair, 40%, which is up 30% from 2000 when he was voted the first time. So even though the unfair is lower than the fair, the unfair went up 10% in one election cycle to the same man, the same president. Kerry coverage was fair, 65%, unfair 31%, up 7% from 2000. So the negative 30%, sorry. So Bush's unfair coverage went up 30% from 2000. Kerry's only went up 7%. That's the main point of that Pew poll. 2004, 495 adults were interviewed. Bias in news reporting, 85% yes. Liberal bias, 48%. Of that bias, the liberal bias is 48%. Conservative bias is 30%. Both are biased, 12%. And other biased, biased towards cats and dogs, I don't know what the other is, 3%. Reporters tend to favor a side in political coverage, 74%. Journalists have too much influence in world events, 58%. News is killed or buried if embarrassed or damaging financially to news organizations. 77% agreed with that. 2006, 1,229 adults. News media tells truth all or most of the time. Democrats and libs said 7 out of 10 approximately said yeah. Tells the truth all or most time. Yeah, who are they fooling? News media tells truth sometime or hardly ever. Republicans say 47%, sometimes or hardly ever. All respondents, 4 out of 10 said that. So they're close to most of the respondents. Confidence in media's ability to report fully, accurately, and fairly. Not much or no confidence in that, 36%. Republicans said 48%. Democrats said 75% ability to report fairly accurate. Now, who are they covering for? Why the disparity if they're not covering for their own ilk? Media is harder on Bush than previous presidents. Republicans said 61% yes. Independents said 36% yes. Democrats, a mere 11% yes. In 2007, 900 adults were interviewed. Coverage of Iraq war was fair or is fair and objective. 35% said yes. 62% of the public said no. Coverage of war too negative. 57% yes. Coverage of war too liberal. 55% yes. Confidence in media and at the start of the war, 2003, 81%. By July of 2007, it was down to 42%. In other words, they believed the coverage of the war was fair when it started, but 4 years into it, it went from 81% to 42%. Accuracy of military reports, 52%. Confidence in military's portrayal of how the war is going. Republicans said the military's portrayal is accurate, or confidence in their portrayal, 76%. Democrats had only 36% confidence in their own military's portrayal of how the war was going. Confidence in that's what caused the problem with Vietnam, by the way. Confidence in media's portrayal. Democrats 56%, Republicans 35%. 2007, 1,000 adults interviewed. Three major broadcast networks: ABC, CBS, NBC. They delivered the news with a bias in favor of liberals. 39% said yes, 20% said no. Delivered the news with no bias. Only 25% agreed. CNN has a liberal bias. 33% said yes, 16% no. NPR has a liberal bias. 27% yes, 14% no. Fox News has a conservative bias. 31% yes. Fox News has a liberal bias. 15% yes. Major networks have liberal bias. Unaffiliated with any party, people who are unaffiliated with a party still say 38% yes, they have a liberal bias, and only 19% said they had a conservative bias. So even people who are not affiliated with a party saw the bias leaning towards the left. New York Times is biased in favor of liberals. 40% yes. The liberals, when asked about liberal bias in the New York Times, 25% said yes. Liberals asked about conservative bias, 17% said yes. So even those liberals asked about the New York Times said there was more liberal bias. 2007, 1,207 adults asked if they do not trust the media's coverage of a campaign. 64% yeah, we don't trust it. Election coverage is politically biased. 61% said yes, and 30% said no. The bias favored the libs. 40% of the 61 that said yes, it's biased. Bias favoring libs, 40%. Bias favoring conservatives, 21%. Just saying something's liberally biased doesn't say which way it's biased towards. Then they went further to show that it's biased twice as much towards liberals as conservatives in some people's belief. Media focuses too much on trivial rather than important issues. 88%. That's basically not paying attention to anything important. Media has too much influence on the voters' decisions. 84%. We're getting there, folks. Bear with me. 2007, 800 Americans believe all or most media reporting. 19.6% believe in all or most of media's reporting. 19.6. This is down from 27.4 just 4 years before. Believe little or none. 23.9. Basically, 24% of this group of 800 Americans believe little or none of what the media tells them. Media attempts to influence public's opinion. Stronger somewhat. In 2003, it was 79.3, but in 2004, it was up to 87.6 that they strongly or somewhat believe media attempts to influence public opinion. Is that their job? Not according to that definition I read to you. Media attempts to influence public policy, 86%, up from 76.7 in 2003. Journalists and broadcasters are mostly or somewhat liberal versus mostly or somewhat conservative. 45.4% said yes, somewhat or mostly liberal. 15.7% said no, they are not mostly or somewhat liberal. 2008, 1,000 Americans voters during the primary season. Favorable opinion of the New York Times, 24%. Unfavorable opinion of the New York Times, 44%. Not sure, 31%. Liberals said they have 50% favorable. Conservatives said 69% unfavorable. McCain's supposed extramarital affair story, was an attempt to hurt McCain's campaign. 66% of those Americans said yes. It was simply reporting the news. Only 22% said that was the case. Paper trying to hurt McCain's chances. Did I get that right? Paper. What paper? I don't know. Republicans said 87% yes, 9% no. Democrats 50% yes, 50% no. Of course they're not. In covering the Democrat primary, news organizations biased towards Obama, 37% versus 8% biased towards Hillary. They really wanted Obama to win. Republicans, 45% biased towards Obama. Independents, 40%. Democrats, 35%. Primary coverage only fair or poor, 54%. Primary coverage good or excellent, 43%. 2008, 1,000 voters during the general election were asked, or regarding the general election were asked, reporters are trying to hurt Sarah Palin with news coverage. 51% said yes. These stories about Sarah Palin make them more likely to vote for McCain, 24%. Reporters are trying to help Sarah Palin, only 5% said yes. Press would hide info that hurts the candidate they want to win, 42%. That is amazing. 42% of these 1,000 Americans said that the press would hide information if it helps their candidate win. 42%. The press would act professionally, 34%. Media makes economic conditions appear worse than they really are, 50%. Versus presenting an accurate picture, 25%. Media bias is more of a problem than big campaign contributions, 55%. Campaign cash is a bigger problem of the two, 36%. We should ban political commercials so media and internet supplies all the campaign information. In other words, this was a suggestion. Should we ban political commercials so only the media and internets can supply campaign info? Only 22% agree with that idea. Better to put up with election year barrage of advertisements than rely on the news media? Let me read that question again. Is it better to put up with election year coverage or barrage of advertisements rather than rely on the news media? 66% said yes. 2008 presidential election polls. Rasmussen interviewed 1,000 voters. Reporters will try to help Obama, 49%. Reporters will try to help McCain, 14%. Fox poll, 900 voters. Media wants Obama to win, 67%. Media wants McCain to win, 11%. Sacred Heart University, 800 voters. Obama is getting the most favorable coverage, 67.9%. McCain is getting the most favorable coverage, 11.1%. Rasmussen, 1,000 voters. Reporters try to help the candidate they want to win. 69% said yes. They are trying to help Obama. 5-1 said yes. Pew, journalists want Obama to win. 70% said yes. 9% said no. The GOP asked that when asking the Republicans that question, 90% said yes. When asking Dems and Independents, they said 62% each. They even admitted by 2008 they don't even give a damn. They're admitting journalists want Obama to win. 67 or 62% each said that. Dems and Independents. Public assessment of media party preference for presidential elections. In 1992, Democrat 52%, Republican 17%. In 1996, Democrat 59%, Republican 17%. 2000, Democrat 47%, Republican 23%. 2004, Democrat 50%, Republican 20%. 2008, Democrat 70%, Republican 9%. 2008, 3,615 adults were interviewed. 1998 believed most of all of what you can report was 42%, but by 2008 it was down to 30% that you can believe all or most of what CNN reports. Believe all or most of what NBC reports, 24%, 2008. ABC, 24%, CBS, 22%, New York Times, 18% believe all or most of what they report you can believe. Regular audiences of CNN, Democrats, 51%, Republicans, 18%. Republicans. MSNBC, Democrats, 45%, Republicans, 10%. Fox News, Democrats, 33%, Republicans, 39%. Much more balanced. 2009, 800 Americans. National news organizations are very or somewhat biased. 83.6%. Notice how much higher these numbers are getting now. We'll continue this one on the next part, and we'll hopefully finish up here. See you then.